What's up, guys, and welcome to another video. And today I'm doing something completely different to what I have done before. Some of you may not have seen me before, some of you may have done. Basically, if you don't know who I am, I usually run an F1 channel, but this is just so different that I thought I've just got to create a completely different channel to put this on. So yeah, effectively today I'm going to be talking about the departure of Mark Hughes from my club, Stoke City, my thoughts on it, and basically, yeah, just the perspective of what's been going on from me as a Stoke fan. I think the media have sort of got quite a lot of misconceptions about what's been going on at the club. So yeah, I just thought I'd sort of put my opinions forward of what I've thought of Mark Hughes over the last 4.5 years, and who I think in the future we should go and appoint. So yeah, basically yesterday evening, Mark Hughes left his job as Stoke manager. He was sacked by the board after a pretty tragic run of results. And not only that, but the style of play was pretty shocking. There was no real game plan. Like obviously under Tony Pulis, I think we sort of gained a reputation as a team who didn't play the most attractive football, but we had an identity about us. Like Pulis would send those 11 players out onto the pitch. They'd always give their all, and they'd know what their jobs were. And even under Mark Hughes, I think in those first sort of 2.5 years of his tenure, the players went onto the pitch, and we did have an identity about us. He changed the way that we played. We were a lot more possession based, sort of shifted towards more flair players. The likes of Marko Arnautovic, Xherdan Shaqiri, Bojan, those sorts of players. Hughes brought all of them into the team. They've the likes of Bojan and Shaqiri, sort of quite big names in European football. Obviously, it didn't quite work out for them at the big clubs, and that's why they were playing for Stoke and still are on the books at Stoke. So yeah, Hughes sort of tried to shift to more. I would say more of a continental style of play. I'd say that's probably fair compared to Pulis, who stereotypically sort of goes for the British players with sort of the grit and the determination about them. So yeah, I think Hughes did well to shift that in the first couple of years, whilst also keeping the core of Pulis's team. So you got the likes of John Walters, Glenn Whelan, that mould of player, even like Peter Crouch, Ryan Shawcross, who are still at the club now. So yeah, those players sort of gave us that sort of good backbone that when the going got tough, I think they were sort of big voices in the dressing room. And over the summer, we lost John Walters and Glenn Whelan, and I think they've been big misses. Not necessarily the fact that their presence on the pitch, but their presence off the pitch. And Hughes' biggest mistake wasn't necessarily letting them go; it was not replacing them properly. You get rid of the likes of Walters and Whelan. You've got to bring in that sort of mould of player. They're out there. Obviously, we've brought in Darren Fletcher, who is obviously, I'd imagine, sort of quite a big voice off the pitch, but on the pitch hasn't really done it. So yeah, personally, I would have liked to have seen us replace the likes of Whelan and Walters with younger players. Whelan was at the club for nearly 10 years, 9.5 years, and John Walters about 6 or 7 years, I believe. So yeah, both of them, long-serving players at the club. So you need to be bringing through that sort of mould of player, I think, when you're a team like Stoke. But yeah, Mark Hughes really lost his way, I think, I'd say 2 years ago. That was when it sort of started to go a bit downhill. We got knocked out in the semi-final of the League Cup to Liverpool, and yeah, on penalties, and that one really hurt as a fan, and I'd imagine the players and the staff as well, because it's sort of all been culminating to something. We'd finished 9th in the league in Hughes' first 2 seasons, and at this point 2 years ago, this was Hughes' 3rd season in charge, and yeah, we were about 3 points, I believe, off the Champions League spots. And up until like 10 games to go, we were still in a Europa League spot. And obviously we were in a cup semi-final. And just since then, it's just all gone downhill. I think since we lost on penalties to Liverpool, I think it sort of knocked the stuffing out of the players initially, and we've never really recovered from that. So that point, I think we had a really good balance in the team between flair and good backbone. But yeah, since then, January 2016 was when we signed Janelli and Bula for £18 million, £18.3 million, and he still remains our record signing. And yeah, he's nowhere to be seen. He's on loan at Toulouse, hasn't done a great job there, and yeah, that didn't work out. Hughes' second biggest signing, Kevin Wimmer, signed from Spurs in the summer, has been horrific at the back. I think that's the only word really to describe Wimmer. I'm sure all Stoke fans will pretty much agree with that. So yeah, when Hughes has been given money to spend, he hasn't spent it wisely, I wouldn't say. Joe Allen is the only sort of big player which I think has really come off for him. I believe he cost £30 million. But yeah, you look at the other big transfer fees that Mark Hughes has paid. £12 million for Saido Berahino. Been on the books for nearly a year now. Still yet to register a goal. It's not good. You know, when he's been given money to spend, he could have spent it a lot better. Now the question is that totally Mark Hughes' fault? The answer, probably not. Obviously, there's a lot of people behind the scenes, the likes of Mark Cartwright, who is like head of recruitment, Tony Scholes, chief executive. I think they've also got to take a long, hard look at themselves in this situation, because obviously, if you look under Mark Hughes' reign, I've got a stat here. In the 5 summers that Mark Hughes has been in charge, in 13-14 season, he was the Stoke summer spending was the 17th biggest in the league. 15-16 season, 16th in the league. And the other 3 summers, we have been at the bottom spenders in the entire division. So based upon that, you can say that Hughes hasn't actually done a bad job. And the people behind the scenes have really got to take a look at themselves in the sense of has money been invested well? Now, the answer to that is no. And when we have, obviously, like I say, been given, when Hughes has been given big money to spend, he hasn't spent it well, which is, I think, one of the reasons why they decided to part company with him in the end. Obviously, Peter Coates, chairman, has put a lot of money into the club, and I think every Stoke fan is forever grateful for Peter Coates. If he hadn't have come to the rescue, over 10 years ago now, I dread to think where Stoke could be in the football pyramid. But yeah, he saved us, put a lot of money into the club. Unfortunately, I don't think it's been invested that well in recent times. But yeah, I think Hughes has had to go. You know, the style of play, as I say, has taken a massive downturn. The results have been awful. No real fight and character in the team. And I think we just need a fresh face in there, really. So obviously, last season we finished 13th place in the league, which was Hughes' worst finishing position as a Premier League manager. The first full season that he hadn't finished in the top half of the table. Now, I think the warning signs were definitely flashing there, because bar a 1 month period, I'd say between October and November of last season, apart from that, we were dreadful for the entirety of last season as well. So yeah, a lot of fans saw it coming and would have been happy, I think, to see Hughes move on in the summer. You know, when the likes of Marco Silva were out of a job. More names sort of escape me at the moment, but you know that sort of caliber of manager was available at the time. And obviously the Stoke board decided to back Mark Hughes in the summer, and you know, fair play to them in a sense. You know, showing faith in the manager. You know, he'd had 3 good seasons at Stoke, to be fair, and last season possibly a blip. But you know, it's a harsh world is the Premier League, especially when you've got so many other clubs recruiting new managers all the time. I think just the whole Premier League is constantly evolving, and yeah, Stoke just failed to keep up in that sense. But no, as I say, can't argue too much, I don't think, with Hughes being given the backing in the summer. Unfortunately, though, he hasn't repaid that. He's isolated the likes of Hesse. Now, I do think there's probably more to that than meets the eye. Obviously, we brought him in from PSG in the summer. Has had a lot of personal issues back home to do with his baby son, I believe, who was prematurely born. So he's constantly going back and forth between there. And I just don't think he's sort of got on well with Mark Hughes. Bojan has gone out on loan to 2 different clubs now. as a result of just being phased out of Hughes' team. Same with Mark Muniesa as well. And yeah, just these players that were sort of brought into the club to sort of freshen up and give new ideas. It's just not working anymore, I'm afraid. So yeah, hopefully a new manager can come to the helm and save us this season. I mean, if you look at the squad of players that we've got, you've got the likes of Xherdan Shaqiri, Jack Butland, arguably the best goalkeeper that England have. And even the likes of like Kurt Zouma, very good player. Ryan Shawcross, established Premier League player, arguably past his best, but still, a very, very good established Premier League player. And that's just naming a few. We've got a lot more players that should be able to keep us up in the league. Maxim Choupo-Moting as well has actually been all right for us this season. But the problem is now we've got a lot of dead wood in the team. Someone like Eric Peters has been arguably out of form for the last 2 years, yet we don't have another first team left back to put any sort of pressure on him. So yeah, I think that's where sort of the problems lie. We've got to really invest in that. The only the only fullback that we've got that's actually performing well at the moment is Tom Edwards, an 18-year-old that's come through the academy. Hopefully he doesn't get phased out after this poor run of games, because I don't think he's to blame whatsoever. In fact, I think he's probably been one of our best performers over the Christmas period, which has been pretty dire. But yeah, he's one of the positives that has come out of it. So yeah, whoever does come in to manage, I'll mention a few candidates in a moment. But whoever it is that does come in, hopefully is given the backing by Peter Coates to start with, because as I read out those figures, the manager just hasn't been backed to the extent that a lot of other Premier League managers have in recent years. So I don't know. It's a funny one, because in January, obviously last year, Stoke spent 12 million on Saido Berahino. The year before, we spent 18.5 million on Janelli and Bula. So strangely enough, we seem to have spent more money in January than in the summer. But obviously last summer we got 25 million from Marko Arnautovic, which I don't think was well invested. Obviously, 18 million of that went into Kevin Wimmer, and I do think we sorely miss Arnautovic in the team. And obviously now he's proving his worth at West Ham, which does hurt. It does hurt, but he goes through these hot and cold patches anyway. But yeah, we've sorely missed someone like him who's sort of a match winner in its sense. And we just haven't been able to sort of replace him. Well, yet anyway. So yeah, hopefully whoever it is that does come in can sort of overhaul the squad to an extent. We definitely need a new fullback, at least one new fullback. Although I am hearing that we are in talks to sign one from Rubin Kazan. I think his name is Bauer. So yeah, don't know anything about him, but hopefully he can sort of freshen up the squad. And yeah, we need some fresh legs in the middle of the park as well, I think it's fair to say. When you've got Darren Fletcher and Charlie Adam fighting for a spot in the team, then yeah, I think you do need some fresh legs in there, both past their prime, I think it's fair to say. And yeah, Joe Allen is just doing all the running in the midfield at the moment, and yeah, he just needs someone to help him really. But in terms of managers, who would I bring in? In an ideal world, we'd get Brendan Rodgers, who has obviously been touted as a replacement, but I just don't think there's any way that he'd leave Celtic. I mean, when you think about it, obviously they're not in the Champions League anymore, but they're still in Europe. They're still in Europa League, playing Zenit St. Petersburg next month, I believe. And yeah, he's 9 points clear at the top of the Scottish Premier League, and he's a Celtic fan as well. Celtic are obviously going for this 10 titles in a row, which has never been done before in Scotland. I can see Rodgers sort of staying until he sort of reaches that feat. Why would he come to a team who is fighting relegation in the Premier League when he can stay up in Scotland and pretty much have it easy? Yeah, I think Rodgers as well is probably, his stock is a little bit higher than Stoke now. Maybe after he got sacked from Liverpool, maybe then his stock was sort of at Stoke's level, but now I think he's sort of gone a little bit above that. Realistically, I think the two names that have been bandied about are Martin O'Neill and also Gary Rowett from Derby. Now, Gary Rowett for me would probably be the number one. I know he's got no Premier League experience, so it's a massive risk. But if you look at him, he did well with Burton Albion when they were in League One. Then he sort of stepped that up when he got given the job at Birmingham in the Championship. And then he's sort of proven his worth in the Championship by taking over Derby, and now they're second in the league. The issue with Rowett is he's not even a year into this project that he's got at Derby. And if you look at where Derby are and where Stoke are, they could well be switching positions this time next season. And I think he'd probably gain a lot more credibility as well by getting Derby promoted rather than keeping Stoke in the league. Because sort of keeping Stoke in the league, it's pretty much expected. Whereas getting Derby promoted would really, heighten his stock if he really wants sort of like a top job in the future. But yeah, I would love Gary Rowett at the club. I think he's a really, really good guy. Seems to have a good philosophy behind him, and I've only heard good things from Gary Rowett in terms of what sort of manager he is. But apart from that, Martin O'Neill would gladly take him. Obviously, if he comes in, he'd bring Roy Keane with him. I think at the moment, a Roy Keane figure is what we need to really sort a lot of players' attitudes out. I think we've sort of got a bit of a problem at the moment. A lot of the players have sort of become complacent. The likes of someone like Eric Peters. I don't want to single him out, but taking him as an example, as I said, he's sort of been guaranteed a spot in the team for the last 2 years. I think he definitely needs a bit more pressure on him in that sense. But hopefully Roy Keane can sort a few players out and really sort of make them stand up and be counted, really. Martin O'Neill got a very, very good reputation. Another manager who's managed Celtic, I believe did the treble there in the early 2000s. Obviously went to Aston Villa, did a very, very good job there, nearly got them in the Champions League. The only sort of blip for him was at Sunderland, but that job is just a complete poison chalice. No one seems to be able to take that job and do well with it. So I believe he's like 65 though now, so he is aging. Definitely not a long-term solution, but if someone like Gary Rowett isn't available at the moment, then I'd definitely go for a Martin O'Neill for even just till the end of the season or like an 18-month contract. We'd definitely take that. I think he'd really sort the team out and get them working hard as well. Because we as a team collectively, we're not covering enough ground. I believe in the last Premier League match day, we covered the least amount of ground of any team in the league, which was pretty scary. And the players just don't seem fit. So we need someone who can come in, really, really sort them out, and just give them some form of identity, really. But Martin O'Neill, not necessarily a long-term option, but would take him in the short term. Gary Rowett, the ideal sort of realistic choice. In an ideal world, we'd have a Brandon Rodgers or someone like that, but I just don't think that's going to happen. Other names being touted, Steve McLaren. If we get him, I really do fear for our Premier League status. Same as someone like Slaven Bilic. I think he could probably have an immediate impact, but the problem with Bilic's teams it's exactly the same as Mark Hughes' teams. They just can't seem to defend. And that is like our number one priority, really, is getting a team to defend. That's that one sort of ruled out. There are a few other names that have been mentioned. Someone like Michael O'Neill from the who's currently managing Northern Ireland, hasn't had a big club job. Would be a massive risk, especially at this point of the season. So that would be why I wouldn't go for him. And the same goes for Graham Potter. Obviously, he used to play for Stoke in the late 90s, I believe, or early 90s. It was before my time, regardless. But I think again that would be a big risk. And Potter would maybe be someone that I'd take if we did drop down into the Championship in the summer. Sort of a good opportunity to give him a chance to sort of rebuild the team and really prove his worth. So. That would be a solution which I'd leave till the summer, definitely. But I think that just about caps this video off, really. I've been rambling on for 20 minutes, but I hope I have covered a decent number of points. Apologies if the microphone quality isn't up to scratch. I haven't got my actual microphone. I completely forgot to bring it with me to uni, so I'm using just the webcam microphone. Hopefully it isn't too bad. But if you've got any comments to leave, do leave them down below. And any suggestions of videos that you want me to do on this channel, that would be greatly appreciated. But subscribe, I guess, if you're new, because this channel doesn't have any subscribers at the moment. But hopefully some people do watch this. And if you have listened right to the end, massive thumbs up to you. Mad respect for that. But yeah, hopefully we can have a new manager in place soon. And if we do, I'll give a reaction to it. Why not? I might as well. And yeah, I'll catch you guys again on this channel sometime soon. But until then, do take care. Bye-bye.